Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking the absolute best home buying strategy for smarter results. When you think about it, buying property is fundamentally a story. But for most people, unfortunately, it's a story that ends in overwhelming stress, exhaustion, and sometimes a lot of regret. Well, we are going to change that narrative today.
Our story usually begins right here, right in the thick of the chaos. Just picture this. It's Saturday morning. You're racing from one open house to another. You're elbow to elbow with a dozen other people, reacting entirely on the fly to intense agent pressure. You're furiously recalculating your budget on a napkin in your car, and you're battling some serious FOMO, the fear of missing out. You spend months doing this, inspecting properties with zero clear framework, just adjusting your expectations minute by minute. It is an exhausting, frantic, anxiety-inducing blur. Because when you're this unprepared, you aren't actually hunting for property. You're just being swept away by the current of urgency and superficial features.
And all that frantic energy, it leads us directly to the hidden trap in our story. The ultimate villain? The wrong property. It catches even the smartest buyers off guard. And let me tell you, buying the wrong property can literally cost you years of financial progress. We aren't just talking about overpaying on auction day either. It's the silent bleed that happens long after settlement. It's the weak capital growth. It's the poor livability that frustrates you every single day. It's those expensive, hidden surprises that absolutely drain your savings. Or buying a home that you simply outgrow way too fast because, well, it looked fine on inspection day, but it was never a strong asset to begin with. Okay, let's just take a deep breath. We need to completely slow down. If frantic energy and reacting on the fly lead to disastrous, costly mistakes, what does a winning strategy actually look like? How do we build a calm, authoritative framework that puts you, the buyer, firmly back in control of this story? Well, a strong strategy doesn't start at an open house. It starts way before you even inspect a single property.
Ascend Property outlines what is essentially your strategic armor. It's built on 5 core pillars to stop those inefficient searches dead in their tracks. First, it starts with locking down your true budget. Second, identifying the exact property type that serves your goals. From there, it's about balancing your location needs, setting hard, absolute non-negotiables, and finally, knowing exactly how you will assess a property's value before you even look at a listing. If these elements are hazy, your search becomes a massive waste of time very quickly. But if you lock these down, you are instantly protected. You can easily reject the wrong properties and stay perfectly aligned with your long-term goals.
Now here's a crazy thing. It is fascinating how many buyers assume a bank pre-approval is their actual budget. It is not. That number just tells you what a lender might approve, which is really just a technical win. But our strategy requires looking at your true financial picture. You have to work backward. You've got to factor in your deposit, stamp duty, legal costs, moving expenses, and critically, the cash buffer you actually want to retain. What do your repayments look like if interest rates rise or if your income unexpectedly changes? The right purchase is one you can hold comfortably through life's twists and turns, not just one you can technically squeeze your way into.
Once that budget is rooted in reality, we have to match the property to the goal. Because here is a hard truth. Not every good home is a good buy for everyone. Your specific persona has to dictate your criteria. A first-time buyer needs to prioritize affordability and owner-occupier demand. A growing family? They need school zones and flexible floor plans. An investor, on the other hand, absolutely must focus ruthlessly on land content, tenant appeal, and the area's economic drivers. If you don't define your objective clearly up front, you'll end up buying a property that feels great in the moment, but performs terribly against the actual reason you bought it in the first place.
And this brilliantly illustrates a massive trap buyers constantly fall into, stopping at the suburb level. They hear a postcode is booming and just assume any house there is a gold mine. But performance varies wildly street by street. Street appeal, transport access, noise levels, orientation, land size. You can have 2 homes just 3 blocks apart that deliver entirely different long-term outcomes. You have to push past the headline suburb data and look at the street-level reality. A supposedly strong location can still contain incredibly poor quality stock.
But listen, all of this strategy, it is completely useless if it falls apart the second you walk into a beautifully staged open house. We've all been there, right? You walk in, the styling is impeccable, it smells like freshly baked cookies, and the kitchen has just been painted this stunning sage green. Suddenly, you are totally ready to overlook the fact that the floor plan is a complete nightmare and there's a freight train rattling past the back fence every 20 minutes. You absolutely cannot let cosmetic nice-to-haves distract you from your preset, non-negotiable fundamentals. If it doesn't meet the core requirements, you just walk away.
Having this kind of discipline gives you a literal superpower, the ability to price a property accurately before negotiations even begin. Asking prices can be notoriously broad, or they're intentionally shaped to create a feeding frenzy. A disciplined buyer analyzes genuinely comparable nearby sales, checks the current market momentum, assesses the underlying land value, and most importantly, sets a firm walkaway point in advance. This completely removes the guesswork. It gives you the power to negotiate from a position of absolute control, safeguarding you from any costly, emotional overspending.
Of course, defeating the ultimate villain of our story, that disastrous wrong property, requires rigorous risk management. Smart buying isn't just about finding the upside, it is equally about avoiding the downside. You have to check zoning and overlays, review structural concerns, and evaluate your compromises intelligently. Always remember this golden rule of real estate. You can easily fix a bad paint job or rip up ugly carpets, but you cannot fix a bad location, a tiny block of land, or a terrible position within a suburb. Be hyper-realistic about what you are compromising on because not all compromises carry the same cost.
Which brings us to the climax of our real estate story, and I absolutely love this quote. Fast and unprepared is dangerous. Fast and informed is powerful. There is a massive myth out there that the best buyers are simply the fastest buyers. But speed alone is just chaos. Speed only matters once you know exactly what you are buying, what it is genuinely worth, and exactly how you are going to act. When you pair speed with deep, rigorous preparation, you become an unstoppable force in the market. So how do we actually achieve that powerful, decisive strike? We use the Victorious Buyer's Toolkit. Think of this as gearing up for the final win. It means preparing your true finances early, defining your non-negotiable criteria upfront, consistently monitoring the market, and locking in your decision framework before the right property even appears. By doing all this heavy lifting in advance, you can act with incredible, informed speed without ever abandoning your due diligence. You secure the high-quality asset while everyone else is still busy panicking.
Ultimately, what this whole shebang boils down to is that strategy beats luck every single time. So many buyers are just sitting on the sidelines, trying to time the market perfectly, hoping to get lucky when things get easy. But relying on timing is deeply flawed. Easy markets still contain terrible assets, and highly competitive markets still contain incredibly smart opportunities. You don't need a perfect market, you need a disciplined framework. That is what actually protects your financial future and ensures you're still thrilled about your purchase years down the line.
Which leaves us with this final, vital question as we wrap up today's explainer. Take a look at your calendar for this weekend. Are you going on a frantic, emotional, chaotic property hunt? Or are you stepping out your front door to execute a proven, decisive strategy? The choice is entirely yours. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this framework. Now, go out there, get informed, and take control of your property journey.